Today, I want to invite you into something personal. This teaching did not come from a book. It didn't come from a conference. It actually came from my journal. On February 1st, I decided that instead of a cursory reading of the proverb chapter of the day, I was going to do a deep dive in Proverbs. And today we're 21 days into the month, and I'm still early on in chapter 2. One of the verses that I spent a significant amount of time on is Proverbs chapter 1, verse 10. Through that verse, God started showing me something about agreement, influence, and formation. And it made me realize that most men don't fail because they rebel. They fail because they agree quietly. This channel exists to help men get unstuck, not with emotion, not with excuses, but with truth, with formation. So today, we're going to walk through what Proverbs 1:10 taught me and what it might be revealing to you. Welcome to Coaching Conversations with Dr. Ogle. Let's get to work. Somewhere along the way in all of the years of ministry and coaching that I've done, I stumbled onto this method, and I don't really remember where I found it, but I call it the apply method, APPLY. A stands for access. Access the reality. What is actually happening? Because things are not always as they appear. So what's really going on? The first P is pinpoint. Pinpoint the root. Why is this happening? Now that we know what is actually happening, why is this happening? What's the cause? I talk about it a lot, but we often try to deal with fruit when the issue is all the way down at the root. The second P is provide. Provide truth and perspective. What does the truth actually say here? Biblically, psychologically, practically. What is the truth about what is happening? The L is lead. Lead to one adjustment. What is the one move? What is one small thing that we can start doing right now to lead well, to lead ourselves well? We will use this one small thing to build momentum and capitalize on it. But what is one small thing that we can actually do right now in this moment? The why is yoke to accountability. How will this be carried? In other words, what will we use to measure how we determine growth? So as I was diving into Proverbs, I can see that it really does speak to every man. Proverbs 1:10, in fact, all of Proverbs, is literally a coaching conversation between Solomon and his sons. So let's start with the letter A. Assess the reality. What is actually happening here? Because things are not always as they appear. What's actually going on? Proverbs 1:10 says, "My son, if sinners entice you, do not be willing." That word entice means to pull, to lure, to normalize, to seduce. When was the last time that you heard the word seduced without a sexual connotation? And that's the issue with sin, right? Sin is actually seductive. It's rarely loud, almost never obnoxious on the onset. It's subtle. It's cunning even. So let me tell you what I see over and over and over again in ministry and in coaching. Men start out strong, a good marriage. They're serving in the church. They're well-disciplined. They're focused. And then slowly, his inputs change. Then his humor changes. His patience shortens. His discipline weakens. And his convictions soften. Nothing dramatic, no major event, nothing that you can point to. Just drift. Just a slow fade. That's why he'll often say, "I don't know how I got here. I don't know what happened, but clearly something happened." So then we move to P, pinpoint. Pinpoint the root. Why? Why is this happening? What's the cause? We often try to deal with fruit when the issue is all the way at the root. Proverbs 4:23 tells us to watch your heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life. The heart is the control center. What you allow in shapes what comes out. Here's what God showed me in my journal. The voices that you allow to gain access. And these voices do not have to be people. The voices that you allow to gain access in your daily life, the things you watch, the music you listen to, the books you read, the social media personalities you follow, the politicians you champion, even some of the wolves in sheep's clothing that you think are speaking truth and have your best interest at heart. And here's the problem. You have given those voices access. And then access becomes influence, and influence becomes authority. And anything that has access, influence, and authority is forming you. Psychology calls this internalization. Scripture calls it agreement. James 1:14-15 says, each one is tempted when he is carried away and enticed by his own lust. Then when lust has conceived, it gives birth to sin. Notice the pattern: enticement, agreement, conception, and outcome. Nothing implodes. It grows slowly. So slowly, in fact, that often by the time you realize there's an issue, you're so far gone that it's hard to see your way back. The second P, provide. Provide truth and perspective. What does the truth say? Biblically, psychologically, practically, what is the truth about what is happening? Well, here's the hard truth. You don't drift accidentally. You agree gradually. Proverbs 1:10 again, my son, if sinners entice you, do not be willing. You have to be willing. Solomon continues in verses 11-14. The sinners entice them with, come with us, throw in your lot with us. Translation, hey, come on, man, just join us, just try it just this once. Everybody does it. Or the lies that we tell ourselves. It's just entertainment. I deserve a little stress relief. Oh, I'm just texting. It's just venting. I'm just venting. This is a good friend. I can do that. That's agreement. So here's the ownership. If this is you, you allowed it. You didn't block it. You didn't challenge it. You didn't replace it. You allowed it. Trust me, I'm not trying to shame you. I had to wrestle with this first. We have to own our issues because ownership restores authority. You can never have authority over the situation until you own the situation. So let's go to L, lead. Lead to one adjustment. What's the one move? What is one small thing that we can start doing right now in this moment? And then we'll use this one small thing to capitalize and build momentum. But what is the one small thing we can actually do right now? Because insight without structure collapses. Here's what you do this week. Not 10 things, one thing. One system in 3 parts. If you're this guy and you know you've been drifting, here is a 3-step protocol that you can take. Cut out access to one thing. What is one thing that needs to be restricted or removed from your life? Is it an app? Is it a social media platform? Is it a relationship? Is it a habit? Jesus said in Matthew 5:29, if your right eye makes you stumble, tear it out. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. And then you have to have one input replacement. You don't just remove the thing that's damaging you. You have to replace it. Psalms 1:1-2 says, how blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, but his delight is in the law of Yahweh. So if I'm going to not walk in the counsel of the wicked, I have to replace that with walking in or delighting in the law of God. What fills the space for the thing that you need to remove? Is it scripture? Is it mentoring? Is it training? Is it a new routine? Is it more time with your family? And then you need one accountability anchor. Ecclesiastes 4:12 reminds us that a cord of 3 strands is not quickly torn apart. Who knows your real inputs? No secrecy, no double life. You need godly men in your life that you can trust. Men that love Jesus and love you in that order. And then why? Yoke. Yoke to accountability. How will this be carried? How will this be measured? What are we going to use as the measurement to determine if we're getting better or not? Well, we're going to use a reflection and tracking tool. So you're going to write these things down. You're going to answer these questions. Where am I being influenced the most? Who or what has emotional access to me? What am I tolerating that I shouldn't? What agreement am I quietly making that's not in line with who I say I want to be? Who knows me? Who knows my patterns? Then I want you to track it for a week and then pick a day to review and adjust. If you want authority, that only comes through ownership, and ownership comes with reflection. If this hit close, it's not a coincidence. It's actually God's mercy. God is showing you what's shaping you, and you can still govern it. If you need help installing structure, coaching exists. There's a link tree in my bio, or you can search Roar Ready Podcast on YouTube or Spotify or on most social media platforms. Wisdom is not shown in strength. Wisdom is actually shown in submission. So guard your heart, govern your agreements, protect your formation.